more subdued than normal. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Where Are All the Women? We're all here. I'm smiling to cover up for my sadness. I've had a hard day. I'm Meghan Murphy. This is Mary Lou Singleton, and we're also joined by Jocelyn Macdonald. Oh, I'm hearing myself in my ear. Hold on, I have to close a tab here. It's distracting me. Okay, there, I fixed it this way. Yeah. How is everyone doing?
Good.
Good?
Yeah. I'm doing good. I'm just trying to stay in the good story and focusing on what's going well and what's making me happy. And which it's not always working. Like sometimes I'm reading about those drones and that's upsetting, but for the most part things are good.
How about you, Jocelyn?
Things are good. I just feel like everything's coming up Josie finally, like life's really coming together. I'm just happy. Yeah, mostly. Sometimes I'm like really emotionally unstable too, but I would say mostly happy.
Okay, good. I'm happy all days except for today, but I'm having some heartache today, but it's okay. So I was worried that I might start crying during the stream, but I'm not going to. So I do. Everyone's been warned.
If you do, we're just gonna hold space. You got me and Mary Lou. We got we're ready. We're ready.
Yeah, I feel like surrounded by strong, wise women, so that's good. And me too. Chesky, me too, Meghan. You're also going through heartbreak today. This is why I went on a man strike for a year, to avoid having feelings, but they returned very quickly, it turns out. Yeah. Okay, so Jocelyn, tell us a bit about yourself for people who don't know you in the stream.
Cool. Okay. Well, I am a writer, editor, banjo player, woodworker, artist of many disciplines. And I also have been studying astrology and tarot for over 20 years. And my sort of area of expertise is in mapping transits for people who are pursuing psychedelic journeys or any type of like big life transformation. Read a lot of birth charts for anybody who's like going through a literal journey or like a figurative, like an ayahuasca journey. That's kind of like my niche. And I also teach classes on lucid dreaming. So every type of like symbolic language is fascinating to me. And when I'm not doing that, I'm hosting a podcast with Mary Lou Singleton called How I Healed, where we talk about how folks can heal outside of the dominant medical industrial paradigm. So that's like about everything.
So where are we on, I hope this question doesn't offend you, Jocelyn, but
yeah,
where are we, and I'm also asking people watching, where are we on whether or not we believe in astrology?
I love this question. I know you're like an astrology hater.
But I don't like, I have such a I have total full mixed feelings about it because I love it, but I also don't believe it. So I kind of believe it, but I'm like, this doesn't like, my rational self is like, this doesn't make any sense, but I also like it. Like I've always, me and my mom were always really into like reading our horoscopes my whole life. And like, I like the idea of it. And I'm very much a Libra. Like it's hard for me to get past how much of a Libra I am and like how much I like other Libras because we're the best sign of all the signs. So like it's hard. Yeah, I don't know what I think. It's like sort of like ghosts. Like it's like I sort of like I like the idea of it and I'm also afraid of ghosts, but I'm not sure if I literally believe in ghosts rationally, but if that makes sense.
It makes
I'm a little bit
total
distracted
sense.
right now. I feel like I'm going to throw up. Sorry.
That's cool. That's cool. This is a safe space for your vomit. Like, please feel free.
Okay. Anyway, so tell me what you
So I
think.
feel like for me, astrology was a really healing outlet because I was raised super evangelical Christian. And so I needed some type of alternate spirituality that also offered a totalizing worldview. So when I kind of like, put my logical science brain on and think like, well, it actually doesn't make sense that the cosmos could cause any of the things that are happening to us. And it's like silly to believe in fate. And really limiting, and like it's like a prison, like, oh well, I was born with this or that star, and so now this or that is going to be my life path and I have no alternative. I feel like huge resistance to astrology when I think about it that way. But when I think about it as a language of metaphor and symbol, where the planets actually tell a story of patterned energies that we find throughout all time on earth and within every individual. Like every individual is going to go through certain stages in their own heroic journey. Then when we use astrology in this language of symbolism, like in a very Jungian archetypal way, it feels really nourishing, like healing, like I can access a name for the thing that I am experiencing that like so many people are going to experience. It's not particular to me. It's extremely universal. We're all going to have like this moment of midlife crisis, which, in astrology, we will say like, okay, that's your Uranus opposition, or like that moment when you are kind of like entering adulthood in a really serious way, like kind of like hitting the speed bump of adulthood. And you're like, holy shit, how am I going to like just become a mature person overnight? And that like pretty much happens for everybody around like 29, 30. Okay. Your Saturn return is how we would describe that in astrology. So when we use it as like a language of metaphor, I feel like it opens up just this freedom to like access patterns. And yet sometimes I do feel like fate is involved because like you said, like when you're a Libra and you're just like the most Libra ass bitch, it's like, damn, how'd she be such a stereotype? I don't know. Must be fate, must be the cosmos. It's tough to say.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mary Lou?
Well, I'm just remembering that time you and Carol Downer were both staying at my house, and I'm a Capricorn, so Libra energy is kind of difficult for me. And like neither of you seem to have any sense of we were on a schedule.
Oh God, Mary Lou and her schedules.
It was like, yeah, I'm very
Time
Capricorn.
is just a concept.
But you're both my favorite
Life
people.
is more important.
Yeah. So I love the way you were explaining that, Jocelyn. And I think humans are symbolic creatures, and we need, throughout the ages, we need a cohesive narrative to help us understand what we're experiencing as the human condition. And I think astrology is a fantastic way of understanding ourselves. I watch the youth right now, like understanding themselves through psychiatric diagnoses.
Oh my God, yes.
And I think it'd be so much better and saner for them to just get really into astrology and explain their personality through that. So I think astrology is a very low risk, high yield way of putting words to the human condition.
That's a good way to think about it.
But it's so interesting that you brought that comparison up, because it's so true that people will use astrology to pathologize themselves. Like, I'm sorry, I have to be late because I'm a Gemini. Like to go, I have to be on time because I'm a Capricorn. I have to stick to the schedule. Like, and then we could get even further into it, and all of the cool pathologies that all the cool pathologies to have lately. Like, what is this? Demand avoidance autism, or oppositional defiance disorder, or like we can get really specific about how pathological we want to be and just call it, well, I'm an Aries, so you have to look out for me.
I like, yeah, but I like that a lot better than the mental health diagnoses that everyone is like. I cannot get past even the based people that I know who seem totally sane, red pilled, yada yada yada. Oh, my ADHD. I'm like, you don't have fucking ADHD.
No,
you don't.
It's not real. You know, it's just it's a subjective. It's just our current generation's way of explaining parts of the human condition, which is why I think we should lean back on astrology, which is a much older way of doing that, of explaining ourselves. I love astrology. On my dad's side, my great uncle was a master astrologer. He was friends with Harry Houdini and Annie Besant, hung out with the Theosophists, and was very into astrology. He was also friends with Jeanette Rankin, the first female U.S. Congresswoman who served in Congress before women had the vote. So he was a cool guy. And I have all his old astrology books, and they're all very fatalistic because they're from the late 1800s. And they say terrible things about some of my aspects, like this is the sign of this indicates someone will commit suicide, or this is the last chance lifetime. So I like that astrology has grown and changed to be more flexible and less rigid and less fatalistic when it's when we're using it to understand ourselves than I think it was at that time.
I just turned the monetization on. I had it off before. So if people want to ask questions or want to ask Jocelyn questions specifically about astrology, about 2025, about their signs, then knock yourself out, but use the super chat. Can you do my birth chart right now?
Yeah, I would.
Nice. Awesome.
I would love to. Oh my God. Thanks for
I was like, how long is this process? Huh?
Yeah, no, thanks so much for asking. Okay, so I'm going to need your birth data. You can, if you want to put it in the chat, or you can say it out loud if you have no qualms about everybody like.
I think my birth date is public, so it's okay, right?
Okay, great.
I think it's on the internet.
Great.
So it's October 17, 1979.
Okay, hold on one second.
I'm a very youthful 45.
So
I never matured.
Hold on, you guys. I'm so sorry.
She's putting on her astrology glasses.
Yeah, I thought I was like gonna try to like look cool for this, but I actually can't see the screen if I try to look cool.
Oh, the glasses are super
cool. Look cool.
Thanks. Okay, I'm gonna pull up a transit chart for you, and I'm like having trouble finding the. Okay.
Where were you born? In Vancouver? Or in...
Vancouver. My mother tells me at 1 a.m.
Oh. Okay. Okay, sorry. Say your birthday again.
October 17, 1979. Squeezed into Gen X, thank God. Imagine. Sorry, Jocelyn, no offense.
I know. No,
I was about to be like,
lucky.
Imagine being a millennial.
It's raw. It's a raw deal. Okay. And what's the time?
1 a.m. I believe. I've asked her before.
We
I
need
was
to
like,
know.
Specifically.
Okay. All right.
Like, unless, I mean, it's that I don't trust her, right? Because I was like, how, like, do you mean 1 a.m. ish? And she's like, no, 1 a.m. exactly. And I was like, okay.
The freaking drama I've had with my mom over my birth time over the years. Because I was free birthed, bless my heart. I was free birthed. And yeah, so I got like 3 different birth times, had 3 different identity crises about it. Okay, so Vancouver is where you're born? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then we're gonna do, let's like do we'll start us off January 1st. See what's up for you in the new year. I'm so excited. This year should be really good. And now you're in Mexico. So it's like same time zone. Okay. Should I share my screen or?
Oh, can't you do that?
Do you have an option on your end? I don't know if it's only on my end. If it's only on my end, I can't do anything about your end. But if there's an option on your end, go for it.
Okay. Sure, share my screen. Whoa. What? It's like, why is it complicated?
I'm hoping for no more feelings in the new year.
Oh,
I've had
yeah.
several
I
this
can
week.
promise you're going to be done with feelings after this
I'm
week.
joking.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't as I said to you guys before we started the stream, I think like it's not. Now I can't. My brain is like cracked in half right now.
Okay.
You know, like it's not. It was nice to not have any man-related feelings for a year, and then to be immediately reminded that it's just unavoidable.
Yeah.
It's an unavoidable part of being human, I think. So I guess it's like a good reminder that I am a human. Maybe that's how I can look at it.
Wow. Well,
okay, can I add this? Let's see what happens here.
Let's see it.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
Ooh,
I'm
there's
so
the
happy
chart.
right now. Okay.
Yay, look at that.
So
That's
the
me.
first
It looks just like
thing
me.
that stands out to me is you have a Leo ascendant, and that explains so much because you have a perfect
Totally.
head of hair. Like I've never seen, especially since you moved to
Amazing.
Mexico, like it's just gotten curlier and curlier, and
Yeah.
the red in it. It's like, oh, duh, obviously you're a Leo rising.
I know, and it feels like the real me grew out of my head, and you know, like I had been suppressing it all those years, literally, because I had been blow drying and flat ironing my hair for my entire life and hiding from the truth of my hair, which I mean, this is so much better. Like I don't know what.
It's so good. It's so
I mean,
good.
moving to Mexico has benefited me in so many different ways, including hair-wise.
I know. I'd love to look at your astrocartography because it's like you became overnight. You just like emerged as this Aphrodite on a half shell, baby. Yes.
It felt like that. Like when I moved to Mexico, I was so in a bad place. I was so sad. I had been like torn up about a man for ages, and I just couldn't get over it. And I got to Mexico, and I was like, I feel fine. This is great. I'm all good. I was like instantly over it and happy. And I was like, oh,
I'm better now.
All I had to do was move to Mexico.
I love it. Okay, so we're looking at the inside wheel is the moment of your birth captured. And the outside wheel is what's going on now. So first thing that's going to take place, like what's already been happening for you and could maybe explain some of the heartache, is Mars retrograding in your first house and back and forth in the first and 12th house. 12th house is self-undoing. And so when Mars is going into Capricorn, you know, maybe that's like talking a little bit about the undoing of your promise to yourself to like not let men crush your spirit and
you're with my life and happiness.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and Mars is like our motivation, our drive, our fire for life. And so everybody's kind of collectively experiencing these doldrums of like, what is my motivation in this life even? Like, where is the energy coming from? Is it societally imposed, or is it actually coming from like the animus that lives deep in my soul? And so like that, you know, that question is being asked by all of us right now, and certainly by you as it's like moving through your first house and your 12th house in this retrograde. So this is going to keep going on for a little bit, just like into the beginning of January.
What is going to keep going on feeling like this?
The retrogrades, I like to think about them as one of my mentors, Stephen Forrest, puts it as like the karma is ripening. So what does this mean? Like all of the choices you've made in the past and all of the reactions to those choices, the consequences of your choices have kind of like set you up in life with this kind of like paradigm that you operate from. And so when a planet goes into retrograde, you're being asked to review if that paradigm is working. And so when the planet is Mars, that's really questioning our motivations and our drive. But every planet will speak to a different area of our life. Like everybody's familiar with Mercury retrograde. That's like our communication. And Venus, you know, our relationships, our money, how we attract money. So interestingly, in the beginning of 2025, these three planets, also called personal planets, are all going to be retrograding. So everybody in the collective is being faced with similar questions to you. Maybe it's not going to manifest in a drawn out, extended heartbreak, but it will manifest in like, where is my motivation coming from? And so like in this example of how this is manifesting, it's like you had like sort of siloed this part of your life away, and now you're being reminded, like, actually, I'm a sexual person. I do have a desire for relationship and connection, and like certainly like intimacy, if not like we need that connection with each other. Everybody does. And so let's see, when does Mars stop being retrograde? It goes direct in the middle of February, actually late February. But then we have, we just had a Mercury retrograde. We're going to have another one in mid-March. We're going to have a Venus retrograde in Aries in March. So, this is for you, Meghan, and for everybody. There is going to be a massive opportunity to reconsider relationships that didn't have the right timing, like for whatever reason, the karma was not yet ripe, but it may be ripening. It may be almost time to harvest that karma in that relationship. When Mercury and Venus are retrograding at the same time, it's like you're going to hear from your ex, and you need to decide if that's something that you want. You're going to like have to confront your values. You may also have like, if you're getting letters from the IRS or like bills that need paid, like that's not going to be something that you can put off anymore. So that's just like, that's for the entire collective, not necessarily for you personally, Meghan, but it's something to look out for.
The IRS doesn't have my address, so I'm good.
Good, you're free. Damn, how did you do it? I need to move to
Mexico. I don't think I'm in trouble with the IRS. I hope I'm not anyway. If I am, I have no idea. I don't get any mail here.
IRS. I'm getting mail. We just don't need to worry about that until March. That's when we need to start worrying about that.
Maybe things will be revisited in March.
Okay, so you've got your natal Mars is in Leo, and let's see what else you've got. So your sun, you said, is in Libra. Where is it? Where is that? Right here. Also on the, I see. Oh,
look at that conjunction.
I don't know what any of this means. I've never even seen one of these things before.
You've got Sun conjunct Pluto in Libra, and Sun is right on your Imamkuli, which is the like point of the underworld, the unconscious, the natal home, like the soil from which you sprang. So the fact that your Sun is exactly conjunct that, I would imagine that like you had deep relationship with your mother growing up, and a sense of home that was very rooted, and like your identity sprang from this home of origin, and kind of like continues now to inform like the way that you present yourself in the world.
I have never seen a Sun Pluto conjunction. That's really intense. I'm so glad it's in Libra. Wow. And then do you think that has something to do with her being a twin, Jocelyn?
Wait, you're a twin?
Yes, I am a twin. I have a twin. I know. People are always shocked when I tell them, because nobody has any idea. Like people that like friends that I've had for years are like, wait, what? Because I don't say my twin, I say my sister. And my sister doesn't seem like my twin, even to me. She always has seemed, she was born like 5 minutes before me. She was one of your kids. She was always like a head taller than me. And so she looked older. Everyone thought she was older. She was always sort of like she's always been like more mature and responsible than me. She was always bigger than me. And now, we're very different people. She goes to bed at 9 p.m., wakes up at like 4:30 in the morning. She teaches Pilates. She's, married. She has 2 kids. She has a very, very we have like almost opposite lifestyles, I would say.
Does that make it harder to believe in astrology?
I never actually thought about that, but now that you mention it, I should.
I have nieces who are also Libras, and they are also twins, and they are just like you described. Like one is super tall and one is normal for her age, and personality wise, they couldn't be more different, even down to the fact one is right-handed and one is left-handed. It's like,
Right.
and you know what?
I
They're also
mean,
Libras.
and I've always been extremely social and like flirtatious and charming, and she's never been very social or particularly extroverted, I suppose you would say. We're pretty different. But I mean, we'd have to think about things more to see what fit and what did not. But I mean, I suspect that she would identify herself with Libra qualities too, but I'd have to ask her in what way. Okay, so should we continue? I don't know what else.
I think that there's something else really fascinating about your chart this year, and that is the nodes of fate. So this year, we're gonna have one more set of eclipses in Aries and Libra. The North Node in Aries, the South Node in Libra. And the nodes of fate are like a symbol of our collective karma. So they also refer to who we were in past lives if you are into reincarnation, which I super duper am. Because
it's also I have similar feelings about reincarnation, I think maybe to astrology and ghosts, which is that like I kind of believe it and I kind of like the idea of it, but also practically and rationally I don't know if I could ever say yes, definitely that's a real thing, because it doesn't totally make sense, but I like the idea of it. And I sometimes like you do feel like I kind of hate this saying, but sometimes you feel like there's some people who are old souls and some people who just seem brand new, right? Like, it's like, oh, you just got here.
Yeah. I could not agree more. And I think the deeper I got into astrology, the more reincarnation made sense to me. And the more the language of the soul's evolution made sense, the idea that every sign has its polar opposite sign, and that the purpose of every like expression of ourselves is to find some middle ground, not to become like locked into an extreme of our belief or story about our own personality. And so every planet holds the place where it is, its position, and its polarity point, its opposite. And so like in the course of our life, as we grow and mature as people, we're trying to find some harmony between these disparate parts rather than like doubling down on some like very fixed nature. And at any rate, this is expressed perhaps best through the nodes of fate, which speak to our past lives. Our South Node speaks especially to our past lives, and kind of like what we've mastered in over the average of those thousands or however many of past lives. So for you, that's in Pisces. And your North Node, the kind of like guiding star, the unexplored territory, like who you came to learn to embody, because you've already explored the Pisces side, the side who's deeply spiritual and a guru and like one with all. And now you're like very curious about this edge, this completely new territory, which is like very disinterested in unity and boundlessness with all, and is instead like actually really grounded and looking for the material of life and getting into an understanding of like how life is organized, how it's communicated, how it can work and serve an actual community rather than like an amorphous, unity, a oneness. And so like that's your North Node, that's your guiding star. Does that like resonate for you at all?
I'm feeling a little bit lost. But yeah, this is my first my first experience with a birth chart and with getting this deep into astrology. So I totally haven't gotten my head around
lives. Yeah. Okay. The reason this is important is because this year the nodes of fate are going to switch signs from Aries and Libra into Pisces and Virgo. And so you're going to, over the next couple years, because the nodes of fate take a couple years to move through the signs, you're going to experience an opposition to your sort of like natural orientation and a tug on that which you've already completely mastered. It's going to feel very familiar to you. You're going to like have a sort of native sense and a like, like a sense of speaking that language really fluently.
I feel like that's already happened. I feel like that happened on the weekend. Is that possible?
I mean,
I was like, no, this again. This is familiar.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe that. Let's see. I mean, like, well, Pisces is
it's just gonna happen again.
It's gonna keep happening. Yeah, it's gonna become more and more pronounced. This sense of like I've been here before.
So when is a good time for her to do ayahuasca?
No, I'm never doing ayahuasca. It sounds awful.
Oh, but Jocelyn can tell you the right day.
No, I think it sounds awful. I don't like doing drugs. Which sounds weird to say because I
sounds so weird. I really can't relate.
I do drugs all the time. I shouldn't be saying this on the stream, but I don't like I don't like feeling high.
I'm a heavy drug user, actually. Yeah, I feel you.
Anybody who knows me is watching the stream and just heard me say I don't like drugs. They would be like, "Okay, Meghan." It's that I don't like. I don't like feeling high. I don't like I don't like hallucinating. I also don't like downers. Like I don't hate oxy. I hate. I would never. I don't like weed. I don't like mushrooms. I don't even like MDMA. Like, which is weird because everybody likes MDMA.
Yeah,
I don't like it. It makes me feel like overwhelmed, like and cold. And strangely antisocial. Like I have to just go like sit in a corner by myself or with like one of, it doesn't have the same impact on me as it does on others. Like it makes me I don't know. I think it's part of it is control. Like I don't like feeling out of control.
Right.
Which but I mean I obviously like I drink a lot and when I go out, not like on a day-to-day basis, but so it's sort of it's a strange thing to explain because I just here, let me fix the screens. I think I would hate ayahuasca. I think it sounds like terrifying and uncomfortable.
But it might help you open up that sense of spirituality if you're interested in that.
Oh, it seems like, have you guys done ayahuasca?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. Yeah, I think it's pretty powerful medicine.
Do you like doing mushrooms though? You probably do.
I love mushrooms. I love downers. Like your whole list, I was like, heavy hitters.
I like to be like I want to go out and I want to party and I want to be social and I want to hang out with my friends and I want to have fun, but I don't like feeling out of it or antisocial or out of control.
Yeah, I hate heart palpitations, so I do feel you about MDMA and sweating. Yeah.
And what?
Sweating.
Oh God, all I do is sweat here.
Well, yeah.
I'm constantly sweating here. Whether I'm at the gym or not, I'm sweating. But I think it's great for your pores. So
yeah.
Sweating, totally.
But so I think it's gonna be a good year. Do you think it's gonna be a good year?
I think it's gonna be a freaking awesome year. And I think that people like on the topic of drugs, I do think that there's going to be some interesting developments in that space. We've got Neptune is going to dip his toes into Aries, and Neptune is like the lord of illusion and addiction, and so therefore also drug use. And
Is
so
that
like
specific to me, or what might it have something to do
that's
with
for the
somebody in my life?
collective.
That's for everybody.
Yeah, that's for everyone in the collective.
Okay.
So Neptune moving into Aries, I think is going to create like, you know, we've like heard a lot of people talking about the healing power of psychedelics, and Aries as a cardinal sign, which both of you are going to be super familiar with, you as a Libra, you as a Capricorn, like it's the get it started sign, and it's a fire sign. So it wants to start new things. It's also, Aries is in association with Mars, and it rules the body, like the first, it's in association with the first house, which rules the body. And so, you know, we can kind of look at this sign as like an invitation for health consciousness around drugs. So people getting into like the way that like kettlebells and CrossFit was a thing, like just like became a thing, it's going to be like, do mushrooms. You know, I feel like people are going to get really martial about doing mushrooms.
I feel like that's sort of happening already.
Yeah.
So I think
we're going to see it more
next year.
I think we're going to see it more. And it's really because Neptune is a slow moving planet. We're going to see it for like about 13 years. So we're going to see like, I think one of the ways that Neptune in Aries is going to manifest is going to be with a like real warrior attitude around drug use. And I also think like, because Neptune has to do with illusion and propaganda, there's going to be a lot of like lying and just illusion in general around health and the body. You know, like one time that Neptune was in Aries was when Louis Pasteur came up with pasteurization and the sort of like large scale adoption of germ theory. And we're already kind of seeing like people talking about raw milk a lot and like kind of, you know, challenging germ theory. I fucking love raw milk.
I'm obsessed. I talk to everybody about raw milk. Like I am such a big advocate of raw milk. I feel like it's changed my life, and like I feel like it repaired my gut and like my immune system. It's also delicious, and it drives me crazy that when you talk about it, you know, the non-based red pills will always be like, but then you're like drinking all the pus,
bro,
or like, isn't it gross? And I'm like, it's not gross. I mean, it like all that you're like the other milk, you've just destroyed all the good stuff. There's not even any point in drinking the other milk. Then don't drink milk. And yeah, and it tastes way better. Like it's got so much good stuff in it. And these are probably people who take probiotics as a pill. Like,
right.
When you can get
fools
so much more from just drinking raw milk. And yeah, I think it's the best.
I know. And I think like once you've had raw milk, then you realize that pasteurized milk is like no better than oat milk. It's like fake.
Right.
It's like,
no, it's so sad.
This is a joke.
I mean, I would say it's marginally better than oat milk or soy milk. Just
oh, of course, yeah,
yeah,
but like,
it's marginally, but it's plasticized. It's lost all of its vitality.
The flavor's not there.
No, it does. It's right. It's like margarine. You know,
that's another thing that I got from Mexico, raw milk, because it's not legal in BC, of course. And yeah, they sell raw milk at the little organic store just down the road from my house, and it's the best.
I know, it's such a game changer and you can see like the fat globules in it, and you can just see like how alive. And as a huge breastfeeding advocate, you would never pasteurize breast milk or homogenize it. Maybe the whole industrial milk banking industry is doing that, but for your own baby, that would be insane.
Yeah. I know. That's what I always said. I always ask people, I'm like, what do you think that breast milk is? I mean, what do you think? I mean, all the milk all comes from the same place also. I don't know why you're so grossed out. I guess I do know why. I mean, there's so much propaganda around raw milk being dangerous and dirty, and it'll make you sick.
And that's where Neptune comes into the conversation. It's like the propaganda around our bodies. And I think that people are going to be challenging raw milk on the one side and like really challenging it, you know, pro raw milk on the other side. I feel like part of the part of like the Make America Healthy Again movement that we're going to see is like Neptune and Aries manifesting. It's going to have a lot of fighting around vaccines. And like Aries is the warrior. Aries wants to fight. So people are going to be like, vaccines are so holy and sacred. You can't challenge them. And then other people are going to be like, burn down HHS. You know?
I mean,
So
I've been pretty red pilled on vaccines this year, thanks to
I love to hear
COVID.
But,
I mean, it's not, like just more and more and more. And, as I've mentioned a couple times on the streams so far, I'm currently reading RFK Jr.'s book about Fauci. And that's just like, I wish that I'd read it earlier, but it's really blowing my mind. It's all sort of stuff that I was aware of on the periphery, but to read all the data and lies and, it's very troubling. So, I've not gotten to the point where I'm like full anti-vax, but the vaccine schedule in the US is totally insane. And it's obviously a cash cow, if anybody on the planet still trusts big pharma at this point, they're a fucking idiot. But, vaccines are like, especially things like the flu shot and COVID, things that you need boosters for. It's just, it's such a great cash cow for big pharma. And then, I feel like the most obvious question is, well, then the most obvious point, I guess, is then like, well, then it's not a vaccine. Like the flu shot, I think I got the flu shot one time in my life just because I was at the doctor and my doctor was like, do you want a flu shot? And I was like, okay. But it had never occurred to me to get a flu shot before because, it's like, yeah, in the winter I get sick sometimes, whatever. But, like it doesn't prevent you from getting the flu and you have to keep getting them all the time. I'm like, this is not a vaccine. It's not stopping you from getting sick. Like, this is so weird that everyone has fallen for this.
Yeah. Okay, I have questions. Can I switch the topic? Okay. Tell us what's going on around Inauguration Day, because I'm nervous.
Big stuff. I mean, honestly, it looks a little bit wild. Like right now, we're gearing up for a Mars opposition to Pluto. So the vibes are a bit
edgy,
psycho. Yeah. Like Mars is the warrior. Pluto is like the lord of the underworld. And when they're in an opposition, they're having like a cosmic tug of war. So that happens like January 2nd, that angle is exact. But the vibes continue to be kind of toxic as long as, Mars doesn't move that quickly. And so we need him to like speed up a little bit because Pluto barely moves at all. So that is going on. And then we have, I need to pull my chart back up and I lost it.
And is Trudeau going to resign, or can we ask like really specific questions now?
Yeah, we could, but we can ask that question, but I need to pull up Trudeau's chart to know.
Okay.
And I pulled up Nancy Mace's chart, RFK's, Trump's. I pulled Tulsi Gabbard's, like just like my current favorites. But
are they all going to have a good year?
I think Nancy Mace is going to have a really good year, and I'm really excited for her.
Yeah, we love Nancy Mace. Yeah.
What a shiro. She is having a Jupiter return. So Jupiter is going to go back into Cancer, which is where it was at the position of her birth. I would love to talk more about Jupiter and Cancer. I think Mary Lou, you'll be like happy because like I feel like breastfeeding is about to make a big comeback with Jupiter and Cancer. I feel like big titties are going to make a big comeback. Like people are going to stop like trying to starve themselves. Like the whole Ozempic thing is going to be so gay and retarded.
Please, the Ozempic thing. I've been so worried about Ozempic, and I was thinking that this was going to continue forever, and that we weren't going to have any more fat people, and everybody was going to be like skinny and shrimpy and have no muscle mass. Like I hate it. I don't like, as much as I worry about my weight because of my age. It's so hard to lose weight. Like it feels like all of a sudden when you get past 40, it becomes very difficult for anything to kind of budge. I've been getting there. I just need, I need to be more consistent in my workouts and eat less cake. But like there's been points where I've been so frustrated that I'm like, maybe I should take Ozempic. I never would, because I just don't trust it. And I don't think that it's a good trade-off. But most people, I know a ton of people who are like, whatever makes you skinny. Like, people just don't really think about it that much. And yeah, I hate so many different aspects of it. I hate the aspect, like, I hate the idea of a magic pill. I'm like, you got to go to the gym and eat more protein and less sugar. Like, nothing comes easy. And we should have all learned this from our fairy tales. And none of you know what the side effects are. We know some side effects, but you don't really know how this is going to impact your health. And yeah, you're not eating. You're on a starvation diet, so you're losing weight. What does that tell you in your brain?
Like, how psychotic and wasteful is that?
And especially for women, and most of the people who are taking Ozempic are women, and they're the ones who desperately need muscle mass, especially when you're getting to 40.
I wonder what will come out about it. It all feels very mythic and like a fairy tale. If the mad scientists have made a potion out of lizard DNA for people to inject so they'll be pretty for the ball, like, it's so mythical and very witch's brew, not in a good way, just more like the mad wizard coming up with something crazy. I worry about the fallout from the GLP-1 agonist.
Me too. And we just read, I didn't actually read this full essay, but maybe you did, Mary Lou. Richard, how do you say his last name? Crap. He's giving his daughter Ozempic, like his kid.
No.
Like, and I was like, what? Like, first of all, I am so judgmental of people with fat kids. There should not be such a thing as a fat kid. And if you have a fat kid, you are fucking failing as a parent. And I actually think, almost being abusive. And it's like, you are in full control of what goes into your child's mouth. And then you're like, I don't know, they just won't. Like, one of his, I'll find the essay and post it in the chat. But, it was like, she just can't control what goes into her mouth. She just puts everything into her mouth. And I'm like, you control what goes into her mouth. Don't keep junk food in your house, first of all. When I was a kid, we weren't allowed to have junk food. We weren't allowed to have sugar cereal. We didn't have pop in the house unless I was like sick and my mom bought me ginger ale or something like that. I hated the food that we ate when I was a kid. I hated all of it, but I didn't have a choice. I'm glad now because I wasn't a fat kid. Well, but it's like your kid fat and now you're putting your kid on Ozempic?
That's scary.
We
have no idea what's going to happen with it. And we have some idea. There's a big black box warning on it that says it causes cancer. So we have some idea, and in the list of known side effects, pancreatitis, including cases of fatal pancreatitis, gastroparesis, which means your gut just never moves again. You just can't ever really have a normal digestion again, depression, cancer. It's
I'm
crazy.
putting this essay in the live chat right now. Richard Hanania. I just realized I've never said his last name out loud before, so I don't. Did you read that essay, Mary Lou?
I did. I couldn't tell if he really had his kid on Ozempic or if he was being snarky.
Oh, okay. Maybe because I really just skimmed the essay, so I just got to that part and I was like, "What?"
The whole tone of the essay was so gross to me. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't like that guy.
But with so many kids pre-diabetic or overweight, I understand that like people want their kids to be healthy, and like we know that ADHD and depression are both diseases of metabolic dysfunction. So like what is the fucking outcome going to be when instead of healing the metabolic dysfunction in the 75% of kids who are pre-diabetic, you just bypass healing that, put them on Ozempic, and then they're going to have worse ADHD and depression, fill them up with psych meds and watch them go shoot up a school. I don't know. I just feel like this is the pipeline for psychopathy.
That's the info that's missing from the recent school shooter story. Is was she on SSRIs? And I strongly suspect she was, because there's so much evidence coming out that was the issue for so many of these young school shooters. And she was very troubled. Did you guys read her manifesto that Anna Slatz posted?
Disturbing. Yeah.
Really troubled life, like 2 parents who were probably, it sounds like, alcoholics, lots of divorces. She just hated the world, and to me she sounded very isolated and lonely. I would almost predict that she was on antidepressants or something like that.
She had a therapist. I mean, what's the likelihood of, like, obviously the therapy wasn't working. I'm sure that like psych meds were probably considered.
What I can tell, the vast majority of people working as therapists right now are themselves on psych meds.
Oh
yeah. God. Yeah. But I mean, isn't it like nurses and psychology, like people and doctors, people with access to these drugs are on these drugs, right? Aren't doctors like the most addicted to pills?
Well, probably. Yeah. I mean, certain professions more than others. Yeah. I mean, I rarely meet a resident physician that's not taking stimulant drugs, but in the therapy industry, people go into mental health professional fields often from their own wounding, and their own journey, and they want to help other people because they've been helping therapy, and they're so therapized. And now the dominant model of that is all the drugs and taking on these illness identity labels. And most of our mental health professionals are completely personally invested in that paradigm and themselves think of, they identify with a bunch of mental illness labels and take those medications themselves. So of course they're going to recommend them to everybody.
I've been noticing this as well. I have some friends who are therapists, and that's the story, like what you just said. And they're on sleeping pills and ADHD pills. And I need to actually mute in for a sec to go get some water. But when I get back, I just want to ask you both if you think that, like, where are we on does therapy even work? But can I just go get some water first?
Okay, yeah, I got that.
Okay, hold on. I'll be right back.
Pause.
So the inauguration's going to go off.
Okay, so I can speak a little bit more to the inauguration. Like, I can pull this chart.
I'm just worried about it not actually happening.
Sis, I can't tell you what the future holds, but I can tell you that Mercury is opposite Mars that day. So all of the communication around it, bombastic and martial. I think that like both sides, arguing for like maybe a repeat of recent history in terms of insurrection narrative, like Mercury opposite Mars would give that kind of like narrative and that kind of bombast in the public discourse. And like I said, we've also got Mars opposite Pluto. So the power and transformation. And when you speak to like, is the inauguration going to happen? Like,
oh God, somebody said they were worried that it wasn't going to happen. And I just was like, please don't even say that out loud.
I just said it. I'm sorry.
I don't even want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Don't put those ideas out into the universe. I know that, obviously you're not the only one thinking this, but the idea I can't even stand. I'm like, no, this has to happen.
Well, you know what we do have? We have something really, really posy on this day. And that is a square with Jupiter, Saturn, and Venus. And a lot of astrologers are going to say that doesn't sound very positive, a square, because the square is a pretty tense angle. But my take is that anytime the benefics, Venus and Venus are involved, it's always going to be good. They just shine their luck and beneficence on everything they touch. I pulled up the screen again. Thanks. Okay, so that's happening right here. So Jupiter touching Venus. And so this is like Saturn comes to slow down the party and kind of be like well, let's make sure that everything that it is on the docket is planned for and like I want to make sure that the list is crossed off. But Venus is like, I'm here to party. And Jupiter is like, yeah, we're like, let's light it up, So I feel like there's going to be an air of extreme celebration in the air, like not for nothing, but Trump won by a landslide. The freaking country has spoken, man. Like,
Yeah.
there's like even I feel like the number of people who are like not diehard Trumpers, but just want to see radical difference in terms of how things are handled. Certainly, like the America First policy feels incredibly popular. I feel like that's really resonating with a lot of people who wouldn't describe themselves as Republicans. Make America Healthy Again is super fucking popular. I don't think like like you have to be gay and retarded to be like, you know what, honestly, everyone should be on antidepressants and fat. Like, what? Like, I actually think it's really important that we not move our bodies and continue to eat seed oils. Like, no, Americans want to be healthy again. So that kind of stuff is like giving major party vibes. Venus and Jupiter here.
I think, like what I think is that people are really into autonomy and sovereignty, which I think is tied to the Make America Healthy Again movement. Like people are, people, thank God, don't trust the government, don't trust the institutions, don't trust the experts. And what that means is that you have to take care of yourself and you have to know how to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. And you got to be healthy so that you can do that. I just wanted to quickly advertise my gay and retarded t-shirt since you said that, Jocelyn, and let everyone know that they can buy that at my merch shop. Thank you.
It's so good.
Good Christmas present, maybe.
It's not too late, y'all. I also want to point out that we've got what I consider to be a hella posy angle here. Okay, so like Uranus, one of my favorite planets. Megan, you were just talking about the sense of like sovereignty and the spirit of America, which is the rugged individualist. Like that's Uranus in a nutshell. The individualist, the like change bringer, the spark of originality, willing to like burn it all down and start anew whenever the old ways have become too structured. Yes. And Uranus is in Taurus right now and has been for several years now. And so he's answering to Venus. Venus during the time of the inauguration is in Pisces, where she is at her most powerful. She is truly Aphrodite on a half shell. She's like at full power to just like love everybody and attract with her divine femininity. So, we've got like Uranus, this like spark of originality is coming with like the tinge of love and beauty and like valuing the true beauty of life and making this beautiful angle with Mercury. So again, we were talking about Mercury like in this kind of bombastic language and propaganda with its aspect to Mars. But then I think that there's just like this other voice coming into the conversation that is reminding us that I think about those paintings from the 1800s of America, and like they're so symbolic and realistic, and it's like America, and she's like blazing across the frontier, and she's what I'm talking about, like these just images of the spirit of freedom, and America's soul as this grounded to the earth, valuing this land. Just like the beauty, the poetry of freedom. Eagles caw, like that's the vibe. So I think we've definitely got some like really aggressive kind of tense vibes that don't bode well for like having productive conversations across aisles or like seeing this conversation in the media. But then we have these other sets of aspects that are really like celebratory and very yeah, just like I feel like getting America back to a sense of itself, and sort of like maybe perhaps my prayer is a sense of releasing some of this shame, this like really fucking stupid shame that we've all adopted during our woke era, where we were like, oh, America's bad, America's the colonizer, America's, the
Yeah.
legacy of slavery. Like, bitch,
The
that's
greatest
it.
country in the world. Come on,
it.
man.
All you think about America? Okay.
I mean, isn't that just sad? Like, I mean, it's maddening, but it would be like, imagine being so lucky to live in America and then just complaining about it constantly. And that's what, I mean, that's what everybody that I grew up with did. First of all,
Yes.
as Canadians and as progressives, all we did was think that we were better than the US and the US was a horrible place. And then, every American that I know who is progressive, it's the same shit. Like, it's the same story of aren't we bad? Aren't we terrible? Isn't this the worst? This country's so fucked up. And it's like, I don't know what your expectations are of a country.
Have you been to any other countries, honestly?
You should go to a different country and report back. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, even a Western country, like, I fucking dare you to go to England and tell me that, like, it's better.
Canada,
Sorry.
man, there was just, I just want to mention this story because it was so horrible and I think is a good example of what's going on in glorious Canada right now, which is this young man who I think he was around 39, 40. He followed me on X, actually. He went to the hospital in Canada and he sat in the waiting room for 6 hours. They confirmed that he wasn't dying and he didn't want to wait around anymore. So he went home and had an aneurysm and died. And like, this is the state of emergency rooms across Canada. Like, the waiting times are insane, often longer than that, 7 or 8 hours. No one has a doctor in Canada, like, it's next to impossible to get a GP or a family doctor. And so everyone is reliant either on hospitals and emergency rooms or walk-in clinics, which are equally as difficult to get into. I've talked to friends in BC who it's like you have to go first thing in the morning and line up and maybe you'll get in, and you have to wait hours and hours as well, and maybe you won't get in. I had a doctor when I was living in BC, and which I was lucky to get because it was a neighborhood clinic and I was on a wait list for a long time, and I finally got one, and it was next to impossible to get an appointment with her. So it would be like, and then of course during COVID, it was like you had to have an online appointment before you were even allowed to access the option to have an in-person. Like, what is an online appointment going to do? What is an like, and what if, what happens if I have a UTI? You can't wait. You need antibiotics. This is one of the other wonderful things about living in Mexico is that you can just go to the pharmacy and buy anything that you want. So if you actually do need antibiotics, you can just go. You don't have to pay for an appointment. You don't have to go wait around while you're in pain, while things are getting worse. But this is the Canadian healthcare has always been the excuse for Canada.
Right.
All these bad things are happening in Canada, but we have healthcare. Do you have healthcare? Is that healthcare?
Well, I hear the same thing about the UK, that not just waiting in emergency rooms, but waiting 16 hours for an ambulance to come, that the ambulance is just not showing up. People being told they can't drive themselves to the emergency room. They have to wait for the state to approve it and come send the ambulance to them. I think that maybe in some of the post-war decades, those countries that built their post-war economies around socialized medicine had good systems, but it's all collapsing across the Western world. It's not working well anywhere right now with socialized medicine. Not that American medicine is working great either, but I just don't think that we want to switch out what we have here for what they have in Canada or the UK.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was going to switch the topic to other things that I hate about other countries, such as like the lack of free speech and the lack of levels of rights, and because other countries kind of blow.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have free speech in Canada, technically. I mean, we don't have a First Amendment. Obviously, they don't in the UK because people keep getting arrested for tweets. I was going to ask. Yeah, ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, if you had to choose a country, you would have to choose America. I mean, I obviously like where I live, but but I live in chaos a little bit.
Yeah, Mexico.
But we're it's lawless, right? Like so there's freedom, but it's a weird freedom because everything is also chaos. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there's bad things that come along with this as well. I just I choose risk and freedom over safety and non-freedom. Yeah. But I want to know if you guys think like everything's going to collapse soon. Like I keep wondering. What I'm wondering is if something is going to happen with tech where everything is going to fall apart and people are going to have to go back to using their old cars again. I mean, I hope this happens because I hate EVs, and I have an old truck, so I'm set. But I think like our dependence on the internet, our dependence on iPhones or smartphones for communication, our dependence on things like EVs and all these things that we've switched over to being, computer operated. Even like smart appliances, like I'm like, how are you gonna, what happens when the grid goes down? Like, what are you doing? Right. Why would anybody want smart appliances? I don't relate to this at all. What happens if you can't plug your EV in? How are you going to get anywhere? You can't fix your own car and nobody else can. Not that I can personally fix a truck, but there's a whole bunch of people who live around me who can. Mm-hmm. Like I know men who can fix my truck for me.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see.
They sure are handy.
Yeah, I know a man who can fix a truck.
Okay, here's my prediction: is I think we're gonna see some deregulation of industry in the United States with the new administration coming in. I think that they're pretty upfront about that being something that they're interested in, and that they're going to be like niche companies popping up that you can get an old school non-computerized vehicle, which isn't really possible right now because there are federal regulations around auto manufacturing and auto sales. So I think if we have some deregulation, it'll become cool to buy an analog car, right? An old school car. And I think it'll be expensive and I don't think it'll be really accessible, but I think we're going to see more. Jocelyn can tell me if this is in the stars or not, but I'm predicting more as the major legacy systems continue to become more and more dysfunctional and effectively collapse. We're going to see an uprising of innovation at a smaller scale and smaller scale factories, smaller, like slow healthcare, more artisan products, more localization among the free thinkers of the population and the cutting edge of the population.
Yeah, I would say there's two transits that support exactly what you're talking about. Everybody knows about Pluto moving into Aquarius because it was huge news for the last few years. And like a big theme of that is decentralization, innovation, technological innovation, and just disruption of all types. Many people associate Aquarius with Uranus, the great disruptor, although personally I refer to traditional rulers. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. At any rate, Pluto in Aquarius is really associated with conformity and group dynamics versus where does the individual fit in to group dynamics. And so big questions about decentralization, the dissolution of borders, and the lack of feeling like a citizen of a bordered state is a huge part of Pluto and Aquarius. Then also in support of that, we have Uranus moving into Gemini. So he is going to hang out there for like 7 years. He's one of the slower moving planets. Again, we're talking about like the lord of like the lightning board, like he's Thor. So he's like, disrupting. And so moving into Gemini is going to be like decentralizing communications, more to do with AI. I think like all this stuff about drones we're going to see a lot more of too, because Uranus is the sky daddy. So like things that happen in the sky are going to like take more prominence, unfortunately. Like I hate that that's the case, but it's going to happen. I hate drones.
What do you think? What do you guys think is happening with the drones? Do you have ideas? Like, what do you think they are?
I mostly have paranoias.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any formed ideas. I just have fears.
I just think, I mean, it's, I mentioned this earlier, but I think that the idea that the US government doesn't know what they are or what's going on with them is ridiculous to me. And I don't know why people keep saying that. Like, I think that, the US government isn't telling anyone what they are and what's going on. So of course people, there's a mosquito in my house. And people keep getting dengue over here. So, I hear you can take ivermectin for that though. So I guess. I think that they aren't telling people what's going on. So people are obviously creating conspiracy theories and are feeling paranoid because they won't tell anybody. And there's no way that they can't know. I mean, is that possible? No. Do you buy that? Of course they know.
Honestly, I'm really losing a lot of faith in our military. I don't know, like all the like tranny military, like all the like lipstick military. I feel like actually wonder if our military is garbage now. Like, is it maybe it's too early to say that the military is garbage and completely incompetent at this point, but I just feel like it's definitely headed in that direction, and maybe they don't know. Is that like unpatriotic or like, I don't know.
I think an enormous number of people are incompetent and completely ineffectual right now.
Yeah.
This is not about the military. I went to get a coffee today and my bill was $9, and I handed the barista a $20, and she had to get a calculator out to figure out my change. Like this, we have like the most
$9 exactly.
I don't know. When I
$9 exactly.
Okay. Because I'm pretty bad with math, but I could figure that one out.
It was $9 exactly.
Okay, there's no excuse for that. But if it was like, I might get the calculator out if change had to be made. Just like if you're looking at me while I'm doing it, like that's a lot of pressure.
No, but not okay. You should be able.
No, I could do that. No,
20
even I could do that.
Yeah, that's not that.
It's 10, right?
Joking. Never mind. Maybe I have too high of expectations. But
yeah,
I just think
when I've worked as a cashier, like they teach you how to count change back.
Yeah.
So they should be teaching the cashiers that. Still, apparently they're not.
They should be teaching first graders what. Okay, if you have 20 of something and I take 9 away, how many are left?
It should be.
Yes. Come on. Okay. Anyway, so but I think there's so much.
Elon Musk, I think, knows what the drones are. So if Elon Musk knows, surely the government knows. The reason I think Elon Musk knows is because, as Rogan mentioned, Elon's not talking about it at all. Like he's not commenting on the drones at all. So he must be involved, right? So it might be some kind of business project. Do you know what I mean?
I hate
business thing. Business. I'm like, I don't know anything about business. It's a business thing.
I think it is a demoralization campaign. I just think that there's a lot of demoralization happening, and
like we're just supposed to put up with drones in the sky all the time.
And then we get these little bits of information, like it might be China spying on us. And remember, we just let them fly these enormous spy balloons across the country and did nothing. So maybe it's that. It might be Iranians. It might be our own government. Like it's just a way to keep us on edge, make us feel threatened and misinformed. but something's clearly going on. I mean, one of my old college friends who lives in New Jersey said that they see hundreds of them every night, that they're just there constantly, and nobody knows what they are.
Threatening. Leave the sky alone. Let it be for the bugs and the birds. Golly.
It's so crazy. And then I remember when the FAA passed that law that you couldn't shoot down even a civilian drone. I had a neighbor that was flying a drone over my house. This was like 5 or 6 years ago. And it was really distressing to me. And this little triangular drone would just be above my yard, just hanging out there. No. And I remember saying I was just going to shoot it down. And I was told that that's a federal offense, that you can end up going to jail if you shoot even your neighbor's drone down. So people are allowed to spy on each other with these drones. And they set up those laws not to protect like my creepy neighbor who's spying the drone over my house, but
to protect themselves and Walmart and their like drone deliveries.
Yeah.
And like how does castle doctrine not apply to the air above your house? Like that's so invasive to have somebody just like spying on you.
I know. Yeah. I'm like, why is that legal? That's the thing that shouldn't be legal. Somebody gets to spy on you via drone and you have no say in it.
Right.
Your private property isn't private anymore.
Yeah, it's really distressing that we have no power over these drones. I did just see a really great video of a guy in Florida who shot down a drone and was just unapologetic when the feds came and arrested him.
This is disobedience at its best.
Totally. So yeah, I think we're being demoralized. I think we're being intentionally confused and upset. I think that this happening right before the administration coming in is interesting. What a weird, like this is the lamest lame duck period we've had in my lifetime. We don't have a functional president. We don't have, like, who's running the government right
now? Well, and also the government's commentary on it has been, there's like nothing to worry about here. Like, what an insane message.
But no information.
Yeah.
It's like, of course people are going to worry. Yeah, exactly. You're making them worry by giving people no information and then saying there's nothing to worry about.
There was a meeting of every single mayor in New Jersey trying to get information and no one will tell them anything. So the local authorities are trying to get information to calm down their local citizens and can't find out anything.
It is really a terrorist campaign of like incompetency and bad communications.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I've never been more thrilled about the incoming presidency and his cabinet.
I know.
So it just keeps getting better and better. I mean, I was talking to Andy Mills on my podcast, and I was like, I don't think I've ever been on the winning team before, because I don't watch sports, so I don't get that feeling of being on the winning team. And usually whoever I vote for in Canada doesn't win. I've never voted for Justin Trudeau before. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wrongly always voted for the NDP, which are, just as bad. But they never won. They never had a chance of winning a federal election. So I've never been so excited about voting for anyone in my life as I was when I voted Trump Vance, but also, that they won, and you're just like, it feels great. I don't think I've ever felt like this before. And I was listening to Blockton Reported because I'm
You're a masochist.
Yeah. and I hate to say that because I genuinely, I like Katie Herzog.
I like Katie Herzog too.
I think Jesse and Katie are intelligent and they're really good journalists and writers. But so Helen Lewis was on with Katie and they don't get it. They don't get it. They still have Trump derangement syndrome and they think they get it, but they don't get it. Like they truly think that they're, deeply unhappy that he won and they think it's a disaster. And I think that
disaster?
Yeah.
How can they think it's a disaster when this already happened once? This is right? A disconnect for me. I'm like, wait a minute.
We already lived through it.
And we survived.
And also, how how can they defend the current situation where our president is literally demented and completely ineffectual? Our vice president is so unpopular and, and not in charge herself, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The current administration is horrific. The gutting of Title IX, do they mention that? Oh, they're big, trans supporters, even though they say they're critical of it. But people just don't care about the destruction of Title IX, the forced vaccines, the fact that 35% of registered Democrats said they believe that people who don't vaccinate for COVID-19 should have their children taken away, that they can't understand why they're hated and why we don't want these people in charge anymore. And why,
that anyone can't see that even if you don't like Trump, the alternative is so much worse. I mean, we don't,
yes.
I think they also think X is terrible. Like they're of the mind that of like all the libs, they think that X has become, this right-wing platform of racism. Whereas on my feed, I see everything, I see all sorts of libs. I see people criticizing Elon Musk on my feed all the time. I'm like, no, it didn't become a racist right-wing platform. It's just that the right-wingers and the racists are allowed to speak on the platform now.
Right.
I just, and I don't know how intelligent people cannot see that, the free speech with the bad is obviously better.
Because they're anti-Bill of Rights. They're anti-First Amendment. They're anti-Second Amendment. They truly believe that certain beliefs should not be permissible to, within their society. They believe in the concept of hate speech, which doesn't exist in the United States. It's not a legal concept in the United States. The Supreme Court has been very clear on that again and again. But they believe in their heads that it's real and should not be allowed. And it is something that they get to define of what opinions are acceptable in the public forum. They honestly want to get free speech.
I just want to interrupt quickly to remind people watching on YouTube to like and subscribe. And again, if you have questions, please use the super chat because I can't keep track of everything in the live chat. Thank you. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I want to know how many liberals, including Jesse Single and Katie Herzog, make their living entirely by commenting on things that happen on X and then putting that commentary on X. Like, why? Like, your whole livelihood depends on just commenting on what you say is like a right-wing hate speech platform, or I don't know, the death of Western civilization or something. Like, this is your whole fucking job, is just commenting on things that happen on Twitter.
I've never been on the winning team before either. And I mean, I voted for people who won, but I wasn't excited about it. And this time, I'm really feeling this sense of vindication. I'm really excited about RFK Jr.
I'm so excited.
I know. And Kristen Gillibrand said yesterday she's going to vote to approve him, that she's going to vote to put him.
He's going to have a good 2025 too.
Awesome. Good. And then Jay Bhattacharya as the head of the NIH. I cried when I saw that one. There are some that I'm not super happy about, but I've literally never been happy about cabinet positions before. And there are several that I'm very happy about this time. I'm really excited about Harmeet being the assistant attorney general.
I was just going to say, she's awesome. And I just Googled her name right now. And the first headline that came up is The Guardian. And the headline is Fears for Civil Rights as Trump taps MAGA darling for key Justice Department role. Are they on crack?
Her entire career.
It's about Harmeet.
Yeah, and she's been about being a threat to civil rights, people's right to speak. Like that's her career. Wow,
this is insane. Like I feel like this is making me feel crazy. Like,
and it's this powerful that Pam Bondi, the Attorney General nominee, is a powerhouse. I mean, she's a bit more like corporate ruling class interest, but she's a really amazing, brilliant lawyer. And then Harmeet as Assistant Attorney General. This, like, he's actually picking warrior women like Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi.
These are not just DEI picks. Like sometimes these picks by the left
Like,
Maybe,
who's the pro-woman party? It seems that it's
exactly.
ever more clear that in this election, it's the Republicans.
There's been a switcheroo.
Yeah.
Major switcheroo.
I think there's going to be some movement on protecting women again, especially, like Nancy Mace, a big part of her platform is like domestic violence. She's been talking a lot about stalking. And I think with Jupiter moving into Cancer, we're going to have a resurgence of like mother centricity, matrifocal politics. And I mean, really, that's like the best direction that feminism could go in, because if it serves mothers, then it will actually serve everybody. It will serve like the well-being of this country. And yeah, I feel like that could be a really positive aspect of Jupiter in Cancer. I'm feeling good about this.
So she's going to have a good year.
Okay. I think she's going to have a good year. She's having a Jupiter return, and that's, Jupiter as the Lord of expansion is like you're like really coming into your own. And RFK had one in 2024, and I feel like it's obvious, like he's really found, like, especially the way he gave up his campaign, it was like massive. And I honestly think that he got a lot of leftists. I mean, I never would have voted for Trump, and RFK. I didn't have Trump derangement syndrome, but I was like, this dude is not good. And RFK is my boyfriend. Like, I love him. And I've loved him for so long. And
I think that the two things that really made me vote for Trump, I was still going to vote for RFK. It was still on the ballot in my state.
Yes, exactly.
The two things that brought me around were, one, the Dick Cheney endorsement of Harris. That was just made just so clear to me. Like, this is my enemy. Like, this group of people are the enemy. Like, this is, and if they are creating an alliance with the Clintons and the Bushes and Dick Cheney, that's just an axis of evil there that I cannot possibly support. And then I heard RFK on Russell Brand saying, if I'm on the ballot in your state, vote for Donald Trump. And I just got convinced. He was so charismatic, and it's like, don't do it. And I knew my state was going to go for Harris. It's, we are a big blue box on the map. But I wanted it on the public record as a matter of dissent that I was not going to vote for the Democrats, and that I was going to vote for Trump as an opposition candidate to them.
Someone in the comments is asking, is the movie industry going to get better? And I'm going to say no.
Oh, are you following Justine Bateman though?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you got to interview her, Megan. I'm so excited for you to interview her.
I would love to, but I don't know if I can reach her, but I'll try. But yeah, I would love to have her on. I can't figure out how to get a hold of her though. So if anyone, you guys tweeted her and tell her to come on my podcast, that would maybe help. Because if she follows me, then I can DM her. Like you can, I can't DM her because she doesn't follow me, unfortunately. I think that the Hollywood's totally falling apart, and they just keep producing more and more shit.
Yeah. I don't know if Hollywood will get better, but I think we're going to see more innovation in film and the arts. And I think what Justine Bateman is talking about, of this lifting of oppression that for the last 12 years we've been living, which would be interesting to hear what that's been about astrologically, Jocelyn, but because 12-year cycles are often
Jupiterian.
Significant, right? Yeah. So we've been living under all this thought control and oppression and groupthink, and the fear of stepping outside of that. It has kept people in line because they've watched anyone who says the most mild criticism of what the status quo belief system was getting canceled. And that has been palpably lifted since the election, right? Like, we're seeing a noticeable change in just the energy of feeling free to speak our minds. And I think that she's right. That's going to free up creative expression.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a really good point. I think like that speaks to some of the shifts that we were talking about into these air signs like Pluto and Aquarius and Uranus into Gemini. I think that if we were to think about like arts as being ruled by Neptune and Venus, so Neptune would be like the highest expression of collective art, and Venus would be like our individual expression of that which we think is beautiful. Venus moves really fast, so it's going like from month to month it will change, and what can be expressed will change. So that doesn't give us the opportunity to say like this is what will be the flavor of 2025. Whereas Neptune moving into Aries, I feel like the art that is grittier, authentic, really, really concerned with individual expression. And like I think about like kind of like hip hop's obsession with authenticity. I feel like Neptune in Aries has that kind of flavor. But I think that one of the issues that we'll see with that is that Saturn also moves into Aries in mid 2025, and then they do this like holding hands dance, like Saturn and Neptune, and it's not gonna be good. Like Saturn is a buzzkill, is like a professional buzzkill, and Neptune is the professional
Capricorn.
buzz
All right.
Okay, go ahead and tell me how Saturn's not a professional buzzkill.
Saturn is not a professional buzzkill.
Okay, Saturn, the greater malefic. Tell me.
Saturn is necessary for mastery and for self-discipline and for foundation, like creating strong foundation. And I think that
so true.
Without an appreciation of Saturn, we just end up with what we're seeing of everyone's a winner and everybody gets a medal. And who cares if you can't subtract 9 from 20? You can have a job handling money. And
Mary Lou, I appreciate everything you're saying, but which one of those keywords that you just used indicated any kind of fun? Discipline, mastery, commitment, like bitch, what?
It's fun for a Capricorn.
It is fun. Yes. Yeah, and for Aquarians too, I'm sure. And
I don't think it's fun at all to hang out with a bunch of irresponsible people who've never mastered anything. And every time I go to a party, I feel like I'm surrounded by those people. So I want to slow down the party and get it
insufferable. And they're very Neptunian. And I think like that exactly describes the dynamic we're talking about. Like the insufferable, like drugged out Piscean type energy, and the like, it's time to, create something, like put your work into this. Like it's not a vibe match. It's very much like a dueling energy. And you know what? Honestly, it has its positive aspects. Like I actually lost like 3 hours of sleep about this last night because this transit really concerns me due to certain reasons. And
your baby's gonna have sorry. I just thought
Mary Lou.
Mary Lou. Mary Lou, what?
What's coming in this year will have this transit.
All the babies that are coming
Spirit
in,
baby.
Virgo in Leo and Virgo season of this year will have
this transit. Never mind. So
my heart is beating so fast right now. I'm sorry. I actually set that up, and that's my fault. And that's
Let's quickly change the subject.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway,
should I give up on love, or will I find love in 2025?
You know what?
Should I give up forever and never experience heartache ever again? I'm not going to give up on love. It's impossible. No. This is the whole problem, is that I can't. Like if I could, maybe I would, but it doesn't. You don't choose love, it chooses you, right? Like it just
I'm going back to your birth chart now. Let's see what we got going on here. Okay, so you've got Venus and Scorpio. And
I do think it's very interesting that I specifically went on a man strike. I specifically took a year off. And then as soon as I decided that I was ready to end my man strike, then And it's not like I ended my man strike and was like, I'm going to go looking for a man. Like I still was like, I don't know if I even want to be in a relationship again. I don't know if I want to do this, but I was just not in the no vibe. And then, right away this happens and, of course didn't go in the way that I would prefer it to have gone. But
do we know what his sign is?
No, I'll have to, let me see if I can figure it out. But I don't think so.
Okay, so
I know how old he is.
Yeah, you I'm looking at your chart right now. I'm thinking about timing because it's not gonna happen like in, right, we've got the transit set up for January, but I feel like later in the year things could really open up for you. So right now, like you have Venus in Scorpio, which means your natal Venus answers to Mars, and Mars is currently retrograde. He's kind of like trying to figure out his motivations and like what he's up to. And so this is a confusing time for you with love. But when Mars starts to go forward again and starts to figure his shit out, he'll be passing through cardinal sign Cancer and Leo, which is someplace he's pretty happy in. Leo gets to Virgo and kind of freaks out, like Mars doesn't appreciate being in Virgo. And that's going to be a tough place. And that's like I think, what did I put? That's like midsummer. And then he goes into Libra, which is like his least favorite place to be. That is not a vibe match. Yeah, so that's a real struggle. But then
more than Pisces, Mars doesn't like Libra, even more than Mars doesn't like Pisces.
Mars doesn't like either. Yeah, I would say that. I would say Libra is, what is the word? Is it like fall and what the other word is? It's like the absolute worst position for Mars would be Pisces, and his second worst would be Taurus and Libra.
Okay.
Yeah, so I lost the screen that I was looking at. Okay, so that puts us to like later 20 the second half to the last 1/3 of the year. Mars is sort of like released from the bondage of being in signs that he doesn't like, and that allows your Venus to open up. So maybe we could think about this as like you have some healing to do around what your motivations are in relationship, what would feel nourishing for you in a partnership. And as you answer those questions, it just gets easier and easier for you to find partnership.
Okay. Thank you. That was helpful.
Is it a good time for her to get a third dog?
No, I can't get a third dog. That's too many dogs.
I don't know what, I guess
the little dogs. Like the total volume of dogs would still be smaller than if you had one big dog.
That's a good point. The dogs are so small.
Yeah.
I want a Chihuahua.
They're so sweet.
You both have them. I want one like, well, do you both have long hairs? Do you have one long hair?
No, but I have one that's a bit fluffy, but not a long hair. Yeah. Oh, were you asking Mary Lou? Mary Lou has a long hair, right?
Yeah, well, she's foxy. Yeah, she's half Pomeranian. Yeah, half Chihuahua.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She's a Chihuahuamaranian.
Wow.
Yeah,
special.
very rare.
That sounds like a disorder.
Okay. Do we have any other 2025 questions or predictions?
I want to say, I feel like really hopeful. My fingers are crossed that we are going to get answers about the Kennedy assassination this year.
Yeah, I think we are.
That's exciting. Okay. Do we see this question?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, this is such a great question. There's a few ways that I could think about this. Like, I think that transgenderism is like kind of like ruled by Mercury, because Mercury is the hermaphrodite of the pantheon. And he's all over the place. I guess I should say. No, I would never. I would never. Yeah, he's all over the zodiac. And so I think we could also look to Neptune as the like lord of propaganda narratives. And obviously transgenderism is a surreality, an illusion, a complete fiction. There's no like truth or authenticity to it. And so that would be a Neptune thing. And so with Neptune in Pisces for the last like 12, 13 years, that like Neptune is happy to be in Pisces. He loves the surreality and he loves the like boundarylessness. And so moving into Aries, there could be a great disillusionment around transgenderism. There could be like a lot more hard-hitting questions asked, like, where is the sense in any of this? Like, none of this actually makes sense, because where Pisces is the dissolver of boundaries, Aries could be considered like the most boundaried, or certainly the most sovereign. Like the idea of the individual is the first sign in the zodiac. Like the sense of discovering self is the first step to the rest of the hero's journey that we go through in the cycle of the zodiac. So I think that, we could be really hopeful here and say that when Neptune moves into Aries, there could be some dissolving of the great cultural lie of transgenderism.
I don't know.
What does
Do you
this
guys see
mean?
this? I don't know.
No,
are women truly not in the Constitution?
No, women are not in the Constitution, except in the amendment that granted us the right to vote 100 years ago. And the Supreme Court has been pretty clear. Oh, and also in the Civil Rights Act, before the Democrats got their hands on it over the last 10 years, did declare some sex-based rights. But in terms of the actual Constitution, it was written before women were considered citizens, and the Equal Rights Amendment never passed. So no, women do not clearly have constitutional rights. I know that former Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia was on record as saying the 14th Amendment did not apply to women because women were not citizens at the time of the passage of the 14th Amendment, which is why many women, myself included, have believed for years we need to pass the ERA, which says that constitutional rights cannot be abridged on the basis of sex, that you can't discriminate against citizens on the basis of sex. But now it's kind of too late to do that, because the Democrats have redefined the word sex in the Civil Rights Act and in so many other places in law.
Have they edited the ERA? Like, it's already been ratified before transgenderism existed. So it couldn't mean gender identity. Gender identity is not in the ERA, right?
Well, New York just ratified their ERA in this last election to include gender identity. So they just completely nullified sex-based rights in their state constitution. I think one of the reasons why we're having such a hard time getting these Democratic administrations to pass the ERA is because of this issue, that they're so beholden to the trans narrative that they refuse to just ratify the ERA, which
Biden could ratify do that tomorrow. If you're gonna like bring the trannies in, then I don't need an ERA. Thanks.
Yeah, that would be much worse.
I'm good.
They haven't passed the Equality Act, which would define sex as adherence to sex-based stereotypes and gender identity, create gender identity as an equal protected category as sex. So it would completely nullify all sex-based rights. But what they just did to Title IX was close to that. They nullified sex-based rights in Title IX. So no, women do not have full constitutional rights in the United States.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Anything else, or should we wrap up?
Good. So it's going to be a good year, Jocelyn?
I think it's going to be rad. I think it's going to be so good. And everybody, we just got to have a positive attitude and embrace change. And Yeah.
I
And
think
embrace
it's gonna be a good
chaos.
year too.
Right?
I think that, I mean, I enjoyed 2024 quite a bit, but I think that had a lot to do with personal choices and my personal life of freedom and sovereignty. But I think 2025, yeah, the celibacy was good though. I mean,
yeah, it sounds like
yeah, like I really enjoyed it, which I don't know, maybe some won't understand that, but it's, it's very like, to be able to focus on yourself and do exactly what you want, not be distracted by any like hard feelings or confusion or stress. I mean, sex is very distracting. People talk about it as though it's a good thing, but it's also it's so distracting in every way, like life, health, like, you get distracted and forget to eat and yeah, the feelings that are all tied up are always scary and difficult. But it's too late for me now. So I'm not going back to celibacy is what I mean.
I see. You're done with love and then it's too late.
No,
just the
I'm
celibacy.
not. I can't be like, I'm not capable of it. I just, people always
limit it to people that you're in love with. I feel like you've talked about this a lot, like the mistake that we made as younger women in our generation. Well, I guess your generation is slightly different than mine. I'm sure you would take umbrage with that, myself as a millennial, but like we made mistakes thinking that like free love was free. It came at a great cost, like our dignity and our self-respect and like our boundaries. But like falling in love before you have sex is freaking rad. It's awesome.
I've never done that before. And I can't even imagine that it would be possible, to be honest.
Oh, because part of the falling in love is the having sex?
Because the falling in love is so tied up in the bonding and the oxytocin and the intimacy and that kind of like passion and like drugs, right? You're being drugged.
Yeah.
So I never, so this is like, I don't ever mean to fall in love because it kind of just happens, you're attracted to somebody, hook up with them. And then if, you keep doing it because you like them, then things just get more and more intense. And this is often how I've ended up in not great relationships because of the not choosing, but it's, I just feel like it just happens. It's sort of uncontrollable. This is also why I always feel confused by people who say like it's so hard to meet people or like, well, how would you meet anybody if you didn't go on dating apps? And I was like, how do you not meet people? Like if I could master that.
Not everyone's a Leo rising, right? I mean, that's that Leo rising.
Yeah, for real. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enjoy your fucking charmed life. I live in a box. I don't ever meet anyone unless someone
God, I meet people constantly.
I'm jelly. Yeah. I need to be. I like people need to introduce me, but yeah. I think that you got big things coming. 2025 is going to be good. Honestly, I think like some people who aren't yet in the right place will work on themselves and then maybe they will come back to you when their karma has ripened. Like if you really love each other, it could be written in the stars.
We'll see. I trust the universe. I'm not just saying that. I do trust the universe. I do. This is like my mantra for the past, I don't know, year or two. I'm just like, you can't control everything. You certainly can't control other people and what space they're in and what they're going through and all that. You can't control the timing of things, and the universe has a plan, and I trust the plan. That's we had another question that I missed. I just don't think that any of us can answer this question, I'm afraid, but I'll show it because I'm being asked to. And because it was a super chat.
Here's the outcome of launching a Canadian animation business. Okay.
Or maybe you'll have an answer.
Well,
I don't know anything about the Canadian animation business at all.
Yeah, honestly, I think I would need to see your birth chart because it sounds very specific to your karma and like your journey as a business person. The fact of it being Canadian or animation related, I can't say more than what I've already said about art, which is that it's rulers its rulers are Neptune and Venus, and so like Venus is going to be all over the chart. It's gonna retrograde during March, so you may have good luck in sort of like setting up your business in March if you want to like always be reevaluating your expression. And if you don't want to be always reevaluating, wait until that retrograde period is over. Perhaps more like would be the Neptune and Aries thing. And so like if it's an expression of yourself, if it speaks to your own authenticity, then it may speak to those in the collective who are looking for who are looking to see themselves reflected in the mirror of someone else.
Okay, great.
But I would need to see your chart to get any more specific than that.
Jocelyn, how can people set up sessions with you to find out about the next
asking? Yeah, you can go to my website, jocelynteal.com, teal like the color. And I have several offerings there. I have my class in lucid dreaming that you can participate in. I have a couple reports that you can get, like if you are about to go through your Saturn return and you want to know like how to get through it. I've got a Saturn return survival guide. I've got a lunar guide that will give you your best dates for business, launching in business, advertising, making your mark in love, making your move in love, travel dates. So the lunar guide really gives your best dates every single month for the whole year. That's like an incredible value. And if you want to talk to me one-on-one, then you can set something up on my calendar. And there's tons of options for that. We can do that transit reading to talk about when's the next time you should be doing ayahuasca, or we can just do a birth chart reading and I can dive deep into your psyche with you and we can talk about like all your deepest seated issues. So yeah, that's all there at jocelynteal.com.
Awesome.
I do. I want to know.
Oh, we never got to, but this might be a longer conversation. We never got to the do we think that therapy actually works question. I know Mary Lou and I have talked about this a bit in the past because I'm always torn because, you know, I've been to therapists, I've been to a therapist that was helpful for specifically what I was going through at that time, which was I was in a relationship. This was 15 years ago. I was in a relationship with somebody who had a substance abuse issue. So I was seeing a counselor that like I was through addiction services in Vancouver, and it was like for addiction affected. And that was very helpful because we did cognitive behavioral therapy. And so it helped a lot with my like that super anxiety that I'd developed and the rumination and the, you know, not being able to sleep and the obsessive thinking and stuff like that. And just to better understand addiction, codependence, boundaries, things like that. But then most other therapists that I've been to, if not all, I don't think really were all that helpful. And that, you know, I just, you know, some people I feel like they go to therapy forever because they're trying to fix something and they know that they want help with stuff, but nothing's really changing. So I don't know if they're sort of relying too heavily on therapy and like, okay, I need to go to more therapy. But it's like, is the therapy doing anything? Because your life, the issues that are happening in your life are consistent.
I'm so glad you brought us back to this issue, and I don't care how long this live stream goes because I'm so happy to be here with you both. And I think that in a nutshell, therapy is bogus. Yeah, obviously. No, I did years of therapy back when I had like a fucking bouquet of psychiatric disorders like bipolar disorder and anxiety and everything else. So basically, like you said, the biggest problem with therapy is that people don't graduate anymore. And there's no sense of like ever developing the skills to get back out into the world. I feel like most of therapy involves self-re-traumatization. You want to like dredge up your darkest issues and talk them through with another person so that they can be witnessed. Well, sometimes it really does help to have a witness. And sometimes it actually hurts because that person is like, you know, they're like watching you and kind of like cementing in your mind your story that what happened to you really was fucking bad. And, you know, maybe you had a story that it was like, okay, it's like kind of bad, but I don't want to hold on to this forever. And then in the reflection of the therapizer, you're like, oh, my parents' divorce was truly traumatizing and I'm not okay and I never will be. And I have daddy issues and I'm not going to be okay. Like, is that helpful? Like to just be reminded that daddy left every day and that that's the root of all your other issues? No.
So I know on some stuff you just kind of have to move on from it. Like this is how I like with trauma, it's like so many people have trauma and I don't really want to think about it anymore. Like I've already thought about it and I just want to move on with my life and be like, okay, I don't want to think about it. Why do I want bad thoughts in my head? Like I want to be happy. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I don't want to talk about my problems anymore. I think I know what my problems are and some of them have gotten better and some of them might not. And, you know, I guess keep doing your best. Like, but you can't, you can't really, I don't know. I don't know if you can really fix trauma.
I think that
you can move on. I think you can move on and have a good life. But a lot of that is with physical, practical things that you do in your life and the choices that you're making in your life. Like go outside in the sun, go to the gym, try to eat healthy, like try to keep good people around you, be successful, really learn skills or hobbies or do things that make you feel proud of yourself and capable.
But you can alchemize your trauma. Like in astrology, we would point to the Chiron of a person. Like the point where you were wounded is the point where you can heal others. And like the legend of Chiron is that he was a centaur and he was immortal, but he got hit with an arrow. And so it was like a magical arrow. So he didn't die because he was immortal, but like he also could never heal because the arrow was hella poisonous. Anyway, point being that like because he was wounded, he could become a healer in a very specific way. And so his trauma was alchemized into medicine for others. And I feel like that is really possible with trauma. Like everybody who I look up to has a hard life and they don't give up because of the hardness. They become softer and more expansive and more loving and more generous because of the trauma. They don't forget that it happened and they don't like push it deep down into their psyche and never address it again. It becomes like actually this point of incredible openness. But yeah, like everything that you said, like getting out in the sun and exercising and eating right, like that also is not something that we promote in therapy culture. It's just like, here's a pill. Come back to me and tell the same sob story next week.
Well, and come and sit in a chair where you're basically just a head in a jar talking, right? It's like very rare to have anyone doing movement in therapy, trying to help people dislodge things from their bodies. I can say that I've been really helped by therapy in my past. And when I was a miserable teenager, I had an incredible therapist who was a guide to me. She was a mentor. She really got me through some very hard times. And she was a Buddhist and a Jungian, and she did biofeedback and really helped me view my life as a mythic adventure that I was living and helped me understand I had options and to become aware of where I was holding things in my body so I could let go of them. And then other times I've been helped by therapy after I became a mother. There's a really amazing midwife and therapist here in Albuquerque, Pam England, who would do a lot of solution-focused therapy. And the work she did, I think if people were accessing that kind of therapy, people would be getting better, where the whole point was almost like a magic spell. Like you come in and she'd say, I don't want to hear about how bad and terrible it is. I want to hear how you would like to feel and how you would like your life to be. And once we have that image, we have to figure out how to get from where you are now to there. Like that's once you know where you want to go, you can figure out how to get there. And I saw her save so many relationships in my community that way, help so many women rearrange their life around the identity changes of motherhood and figure out how to feel more powerful with that. That kind of therapy, that solution-focused therapy, isn't what's being practiced by most people in the mental health industry. It's an industry that makes more money the sicker people are and the crazier people are and the longer people need to keep coming back, right? There's no money in people just coming for 6 sessions and getting better, right? It's, I think that the therapy industry promotes dependence, it promotes pathology, it promotes the model that your brain is messed up. And instead of viewing yourself as a dynamic, growing, changing entity, it locks you into these identities.
Defects, whether it's from trauma or inherited genetically, you have a defect and it's not going to get better.
It's just who you are. Yeah.
I'd also like to lodge a complaint about the fact that we no longer discuss dreams in therapy.
I know.
Like dreams tell us so much about our unconscious mind and what's really going on. And nobody talks about dreams anymore.
Because dreams are passe, because everyone's on SSRIs and too much cannabis.
And that's
I think a lot of people don't. And everybody that I know who smokes weed says they don't dream.
Oh, you can.
It's a dream. It's a total dream suppressor.
Weird. I dream all the time.
I dream so.
I broke up with my last boyfriend in part. I broke up with him 100 times. Before this was not my boyfriend. This is just somebody that I'd started seeing. Like the abusive man from before. But because I was having nightmares about being murdered. And I was like, I gotta get out of here.
Your unconscious knew.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit. That was sort of I'd broken up with him about 25 times already and gotten back together. But this time I was like, I'm getting out of this house and I'm getting out of this situation. That was the very clear message to me.
Yes, and this is why dreams and medicine journeys too, and other way, any way of accessing the unconscious, astrology, tarot, like any mythic language is to me a much more effective form of therapy than cognitive behavioral or talk therapy, because you are talking to your unconscious mind, and your unconscious mind does have all the answers already, and like has a plan to guide you into your highest self. Like your unconscious mind never loses sight of the destiny that your soul has planned out for you. And yet your egoic mind is like, I don't know what to do. And so like talking to your dreams, all of a sudden you get like pretty amazing clarity. Like this relationship isn't right for me. I'm going to get murdered. Like this is not in alignment, like the unconscious has a clear message for the conscious, and we don't do that at all in therapy anymore. I don't think I've ever done that with a therapist.
Me neither. No,
it's not scientific and it can't be quantified and it's not reductionist. And even though so much of the supposed science around mental health is complete bullshit and has never been proven. Like there's absolutely no
chemical imbalance. Exactly. The chemical imbalance. You're depressed because there's a chemical imbalance in your brain. That's a good one.
Never. Never happened.
It's not a real thing.
It's not a real thing, but people believe in it as though it was. Like it's become what's it called, an egregore? Like it's a living mythic beast in our society right now that people are very allegiant to. It's no more real than your dreams. If anything, it's way less interesting.
It's way less real than your dreams. Your dreams are very real.
Your dreams are real. Right. But the chemical imbalance theory is just bullshit. It's been debunked over and over and over again. Anyway, I think at this point in history, with the current mental health industry in the United States, I believe most people are better off not getting therapy, no matter how much they're mentally suffering. I think entering that system greatly increases your risk of becoming a lifelong psychiatric patient and never, ever transcending your story of suffering.
Well, and getting on psych meds is definitely one of the worst things that can happen to you. And I don't accept that like psych meds are good for some people. Like it's a fucking coincidence when psych meds work to alleviate symptoms of depression. That is a coincidence because the chemical imbalance theory of mental disorders is fake, like a complete invention and essentially a marketing scam. Like, you know, our guest on How I Healed described it this way, Laura Delano, like drugs are a marketing program. That's they're a product for you to buy. And it requires you to have a mental disorder in order to sign you up for this product. So it's like the worst thing. Like then trying to get off of them introduces new psychiatric disorders like psych med withdrawal syndrome, serotonin syndrome, akathisia. Like if you when you fucking talk to somebody who's had akathisia, then you know like it's not worth it. There's nothing, there's no benefit that would be worth a risk of akathisia.
And as we were saying at the beginning, like those meds increase your risk of suicidality, increase your risk of homicidality, especially when given to teenagers and young adults. And no one's talking about the mental health crisis in our country is in large part being created by the mental health industry. Like these kids are just getting worse and worse. You put a 7-year-old in therapy because their parents are divorcing. 10 years later, you've got a 17-year-old that believes they're completely mentally incapable of
and is on 3 different psych meds.
3 different psych meds. They've internalized a story of pathology that they are unlikely to ever heal from. Like they're unlikely to ever get the reins of their life. I believe healing is always possible, but once you've been therapized for most of your childhood, it's very difficult to heal from that.
This is why I finally got a handgun. Finding out how many Americans are on psych meds, I was like, oh, okay. Like it's actually not safe to be just like wandering out around this country unarmed when there's so many people on psychotropic drugs all around me.
Right. Anyway.
I have to pee.
Okay.
So I think we may have to wrap this up. This is good to know. I can make it 2 hours and 6 minutes.
You did so good.
Without peeing.
You did great.
Thanks, guys. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Without crying.
Subscribe. I know. I thought for sure I was going to start crying because I was almost on the verge of crying just as we started the stream, but I think maybe I feel better now. Thanks, guys. This is our last stream of 2024. We won't be here next week because it's Xmas. And I don't know. I don't think we should stream on the 1st either. What do you think, Mary Lou?
I'm up for it, but it's fine not to. It's
Okay,
I'm a Capricorn.
I think I might have a dinner is what I think that I think I have a Christmas Day dinner that will interfere.
I'll be working on my career goals as a Capricorn during Capricorn season.
Oh, okay. You're going to have a very different day than I will on the 1st.
Full of practical.
Probably be in bed for a while.
I really love that for you. All right, so no live stream next week or the week after.
Yeah, and then we'll be back. That would probably be January 8th with our first stream of 2025. Thank you for joining us, Jocelyn.
I had so much fun. Thank you. I feel so grateful to have been invited.
For those watching on YouTube, I've put Jocelyn's links down below in the show notes. Mary Lou is at enchantedfamilymedicine.com and ML_Singleton on X and at Mary Lou Singleton on Substack. I'm at meganmurphy.ca. Please go ahead and subscribe to support my work and access all of my video interviews and paywalled articles. I hope everyone has like a great holiday season and a wonderful Christmas. And I'm excited to see what 2025 brings. I know that doesn't sound very excited.
Could be a party.
Okay. Thanks everyone for tuning in. See you in
Bye,
2025.
everybody. See ya.
Bye.